ねえ、私の家族の写真見る？
見る見る。
これはおじいちゃん。背が高いんだよね。
ほんとスマートでかっこいいね。
そうだけど、反対におばあちゃんは私に似て背が低いんだよね。
へえ。彼女は誰？お姉さん？
そう、最近髪をショートにして金髪に染めたの。
顔がそっくりだね。それに家族みんなおしゃれだよね。
ありがとう。
Hello, and welcome to Learn Japanese Pod, the podcast that teaches you how to speak natural conversational Japanese. I'm Alex, your host, and as always, I am joined by the amazing Ami Sensei. Hey, how's it going, Ami Sensei? Genks.
Hi, Alex. Genks. I am genki.
Ami Sensei will be helping us with pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar, and tips on how to sound more natural in Japanese. And if we're lucky, she might even teach us some Osaka street slang. ね、教えてくれる？
はい。
いいね。
Maybe.
And as you know, learning a language takes time, so I hope we can make the process fun, entertaining, and dare I say even maybe a little silly too. But enough blah, blah, blah from me. Ami Sensei,
Hi.
please tell our wonderful listeners what is on today's podcast menu.
Ooh, let's see. Today, we're going to be teaching you how to describe people's appearance in Japanese. We'll go over some phrases to describe things like someone's hair color, height, clothes, and things like body type. We'll also talk about topics that are okay and not so okay to bring up when talking about how someone looks. Now, this can be a sensitive issue in any country, and you might be surprised at what you hear people say in Japan, but more about that later. After that, we'll answer a listener question. Then we'll go off script in Japanese so you can practice your Japanese listening. And finally, we'll teach you the random phrase of the week, a phrase to make your Japanese friends giggle with surprise and ask you, where on earth did you learn that? And that's it.
So let's jump into today's lesson and study the main dialogue.
ねえ、私の家族の写真見る？
見る見る。
これはおじいちゃん。背が高いんだよね。
ほんとスマートでかっこいいね。
そうだけど、反対におばあちゃんは私に似て背が低いんだよね。
へえ。彼女は誰？お姉さん？
そう、最近髪をショートにして金髪に染めたの。
顔がそっくりだね。それに家族みんなおしゃれだよね。
ありがとう。
Okay, Ami Sensei, so what's the first sentence?
The first sentence is, ねえ、私の家族の写真見る？私の家族の写真見る？ So, as you may or may not know, guys, ね is hey, right? So you might start off a sentence with ね to get someone's attention or start a topic. ね、私 So that would be I or me. の So of 家族 family の of 写真 photo 見る see or want to see. So 私の家族の写真見る? Do you want to see a picture of my family? Pretty simple, right?
And then the reply was, miru, miru. It's like, see.
See, like I want to see.
Yeah, I want to see it. So again, the great thing about Japanese, you can say more with less. You don't necessarily have to say, watashi wa shashin o mitai desu. I want to see the shashin. I want to see the photo. You can just say, miru, give me a look. Or as we say in London, give us a butcher's.
Do you really?
No, not at all. Not really. Well, back in the day, they used to say, give me a look. Let me see. And then what was the next sentence?
これはおじいちゃん。背が高いんだよね。 So, これ is this. は is おじいちゃん grandpa. 背が高いんだよね. So, 背 is height. が the particle that points to the noun. 高い. So, 高い is high, or in this case, tall. 高いんだよね. So, だよね sort of emphasizes the adjective. Instead of saying 高いのだよね, which sounds a little formal and a little sort of rigid. 高いんだよね. You make the no and 高いんだよね. So he's tall. He is tall.
If it was a very formal sentence, it would be 背が高いのです.
Right.
So のです just means it is, or he is tall. 背が高いのですよね. Yo is emphasizing it. Ne, isn't it? Different from the ne at the beginning of the sentence. This is so ですよね means isn't it, don't you think? But if you want to say it casually, this rolls off the tongue and it's shortened to んだよね. So instead of です, のですよね, it's like んだよね. So 背が高いんだよね. He's tall, isn't he? And then, well, the reply to that was ほんとスマートでかっこいいね. So ほんと means, yep, that's true, that's right. There, what does スマート mean?
So, smarto in this case doesn't mean smart or intelligent. It's funny because, you know, there are a lot of words in Japanese that sound English.
But they're not.
And they're actual words in English, but they don't exactly mean the same thing. They have their own meaning.
They're your false katakana friends.
Yes.
Right.
So in this case, smarto would mean sort of like slim and like slick, I guess. Smarto de かっこいいね. So かっこいい is like looking good or looking sharp. Good looking.
And that little particle in the middle there, it's kind of like and when you have certain adjectives and you want to put them together. Smarto de かっこいいね. I won't go into the grammar, but basically you have usually katakana adjectives like smarto or handsome. And then you have de, and then you add another adjective on kakkoi, like good looking or cool, something like that.
Oh, I just want to add that it sort of acts like a comma too. So, you know, if you're listing a few adjectives, like if you're listing more than two adjectives, you can use it twice. So you can say smarto de 賢そうでかっこいいね. That kind of thing.
Right.
The next sentence was そうだけど反対におばあちゃんは私に似て背が低いんだよね. So, a little longer, but that's okay. We'll break it down. そうだけど. So, そうだけど saying, yeah, that's right. So you're agreeing to what the person said previously. And then 反対. So 反対 means opposite, the noun. And に sort of makes it an adjective. So 反対に would mean on the contrary or and then おばあちゃんは so おばあちゃん is grandma. は is 私 me に Now in this case the に is the particle that's going to come between the noun and the adjective. 似て. So 似て comes from the verb 似る is to be similar to. And in this case, 似て, 私に似て, similar to me, 背が, so there's that word again, 背 is height, が is 低いんだよね. So, as you guys probably can guess, 低い is opposite of 高い. 低い is a literally translates to low. And in this case, since we're talking about height, we're saying she's short. 背が低いんだよね. So once again, instead of saying 低いです or 低いんだ or 低いの, we're saying 低いんだよね. She's a bit short, isn't she?
So, yeah, so the last one was he's tall, isn't he? 背が高いんだよね. And then she's short, isn't she? 背が低いんだよね. So it's the same it's the same kind of
exactly.
Structure there. Okay, then the next one was hair. Huh? Which is just
like,
oh, that's interesting. Yeah, showing interest in something. Then 彼女は誰? So who's she? 彼女は she 誰 who? お姉さん so sister?
Older sister.
Older sister. Right.
Yep. And then I said, so. Yep, that's right. Like correct. 最近髪をショートにして金髪に染めたの。最近 is recently. 髪 is hair. お is that particle that points to the noun. ショート short. In this case, short. Like a short haircut.
Short hair. Yep.
に Yep, short hair. ショートにして So にして So して is to do. So in this case, we're talking about basically getting a haircut, trimming her hair.
Right.
金髪 is I guess blonde. And に染めたの. So に again that particle, this one pointing to the or between the noun and the verb here. So what are we doing with the blonde hair? What did we do? 染めたの. 染めた is to dye. So she dyed her hair blonde recently and also cut her hair short.
And I guess that particle ni is, you could almost, sometimes ni means to. So she dyed it to blonde.
To blonde, yes.
Is another way you could think about it. Yeah. And then what was the next sentence?
Then next sentence was 顔がそっくりだね。それに家族みんなおしゃれだよね。Alright, so 顔 is face. が is そっくり. I love this word. そっくり is looks just like. That's what it translates to. So だね. Isn't it?
Right.
So like you guys look exactly the same.
You actually hear that a lot of, when you're looking at someone showing you photos of their family or like their sister or their brother, and you're like, so goody. Oh yeah, you
like so similar. You guys look so similar.
I see the family resemblance.
The resemblance, yeah.
Right.
And I like this word because when you're like when you're impersonating someone.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, you can and so, you impersonate someone and your friends will be like, そっくり.
Right, you really sound like that person.
めっちゃそっくり. Yeah. それに家族みんなおしゃれだよね. それに means and or plus, besides any of those meanings. 家族 family, みんな everyone, おしゃれだよね. おしゃれ is an adjective that means stylish or fashionable and just, looking good. だよね. Aren't you? So your family, everyone in your family is so stylish. Aren't you all looking so fashionable?
And then the last thing that is said is one of the most important words in Japanese, and that is?
ありがとう. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's it. That's the main dialogue. Feel free to listen again. Now, that was a little challenging. I think this is probably maybe intermediate level Japanese, and maybe some of you out there are more kind of beginners. If you are, and that was just a bit too complicated for you, don't worry, because we're going to just go through some very, very basic phrases to talk about people's appearance in Japanese. So this time for you beginners, we pushed you in the deep end of the swimming pool. I do apologize. But here's some very, very simple phrases you can use. So if you only remember one thing, listen to the next sentences coming. So let's go through some very basic sentences to describe people's appearance. Ami sensei, let's talk about height, just a review. So if someone's tall, it is
背が高い。
背が高い. So height, 高い is tall. So your height is literally your height is tall, and it means you're tall. If you're short,
背が低い。
right. So 背が低い. So you are short.
Yeah, and it would be nice if you could just say, oh, 彼は高い.
Right.
Or 彼は低い, but no, you have to use the word 背が高い、背が低い.
And it's good to use 背が and then 高い or 背が低い because it differentiates that from 高い as in high or expensive. So takai has various meanings. It can be high or expensive. Basically, the price is high or it's too expensive. And same for hikui. It could mean low. But it's just better to say sega takai, sega hikui. What if your friend, the person you're talking about, is on the large side?
So you can say でかい and still mean they're tall.
Right.
You can also, and it might, it might point to, big, sort of sideways.
Right.
You can also use でかい to mean, to talk about somebody that's tall. And 小さい if they're small.
Small person. So if you're talking about someone who's kind of petite, you might say like 小さい. But if you've got like a friend who's maybe just generally has a bigger body, they're taller, basketball player.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, someone who does like basketball, you might say でかい.
Yeah.
But your other friend may be very short. You could also say 小さい. What shouldn't you say if we're kind of, because we mentioned before that we were going to talk about kind of what's culturally okay and what's not okay.
Yes.
So sometimes you hear the word 太ってる, which means fat. I think that's probably not a good thing to say, right?
Yeah. And, I guess it applies to, all other languages.
Sure.
I'm sure.
Sure.
Yeah. So you could say ぽっちゃり instead.
ぽっち
So
ゃり.
even if, even if they're clearly fat or on the bigger side, you can say ぽっちゃり.
So ぽっちゃり kind of means more like chubby.
More like chubby,
Right.
But yeah.
It's not rude particularly, right?
Of course, I wouldn't use it if you're just meeting that person.
Right.
But I think if you're close friends, then it's okay. Like, 最近ちょっとぽっちゃりしてきた? like,
you've
hey, I don't know.
Put on a bit of weight.
I guess in Japan, it's okay to use this word among friends. I don't know about, places, but yeah.
But I think with any place, just as long as you're sensitive, if you wouldn't say it to your friend in English, probably best not to say it in Japanese too.
Probably not.
Well, we're kind of onto body types now, aren't we? So before you mentioned smart na hito, and again, it doesn't mean smart as in intelligent. It doesn't mean smart as in smart clothes. It actually means slim.
Yeah.
So smart na hito. We just talked about pochari, which is kind of chubby. Futotteru, which means fat. Maybe not good to use to someone's face. It could be it could be a bit rude. What about if someone is muscly?
がっしり or がっちり.
Okay. So がっしり or がっちり. So maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger
シュワちゃん
is still Schwarzenegger. He's still がっしり or がっちり.
Probably, right?
Yeah.
Or ムキムキ.
Oh, what's muki muki?
Muki muki is like muscular, like and I mean like very, very muscular.
Right.
Yeah. Like you can tell that, they're working out like every day.
Yikes.
Muki. Yeah.
Muki. Okay.
And then there's some words, opposites. Opposites of words that we just mentioned, like 痩せている, like slim. 細い also means slim. And this one you probably don't want to use in front of them, but ガリガリ. ガリガリ is like super skinny.
Right. Skin and bones kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So those are some words to describe body shape, body type.
And let's talk about hair. So what about short hair and long hair?
So you can say 髪の毛が短い. Or you can say 短髪.
短髪. So 短髪 is basically the same kanji, right? Tan means short, patsu means hair, right?
Yep.
What about long hair?
髪の毛が長い. 長髪.
長髪. Oh, that's a good one. I didn't know that one. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
What about brown hair?
髪の毛が茶色い.
茶色い. Yeah, 茶色い. Yeah. And of course, black hair is?
髪の毛が黒い.
Right.
And let's see what else. 金髪? Blonde hair.
金髪. So the kanji for that is gold, right?
Gold.
Or
Yeah.
money. Hair.
Yep.
You're so money, baby.
Yeah. Or like the same kanji for Friday. 金曜日. 金.
Friday hair.
And also 白髪? Which means gray hair.
Gray hair. Hakuhatsu. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, cool. And then obviously not just the body, but there's also clothes that people wear. So what are some useful phrases to talk about people's clothes?
So this was mentioned in the dialogue, the main dialogue. おしゃれな人. So, and you can just use the word おしゃれ to mean someone is stylish. Like, oh, she's おしゃれ. 彼女はおしゃれだよね. おしゃれな人だね.
Stylish. Fashionable. Right.
Yes.
So what about if you have a friend who wears like really loud clothes, like Hawaiian shirts or
leopard print,
or like Osaka Oba-chan. They love wearing crazy clothes. What would you say?
Yes. 派手な服. So 派手 is like loud visually, right? 派手, like colorful and striking. Not of 服, clothes.
Well, 派手な is a na adjective. So some adjectives have na after them. So 派手な服, right? Right. What else could we say?
You could say maybe シックだね. シック. So シック is like chic.
Chic, right.
Yeah, so sort of, like elegant and that kind of thing, sophisticated.
Right.
And then maybe modern.
Modern, which means modern. Very kind of modern.
Yeah, exactly.
Modern clothes.
Easy.
So, what other words can we talk about? I guess we talked about kakkoi, which is kind of cool looking.
Cool looking sharp, or,
Well, what else?
So this one is one of my favorites. Dandy. That's not dandy like in English, but dandy. It's another one of those Japanese made English words. Dandy. You use this word to describe like an older gentleman, like an older guy, maybe like in their 50s and up.
Right.
When they're looking good.
Who's a famous example of that? I don't know if like Watanabe Ken is would he?
Watanabe Ken would be he looks dandy.
He looks dandy, right?
Yeah. So it's like somebody looking sharp, really good for their age, basically.
Yeah, they're aging gracefully and stylishly. Yeah. Maybe what's the famous composer? Sakamoto Ryuichi. What do you think? Is he dandy?
Sure.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
And then here's a simple word like beautiful.
綺麗.
Right, okay, it's 綺麗. And then I think this is a word everyone knows, which is cute, and that is
かわいい。
kawaii-rashi, right?
Yeah, you can also say かわいらしい.
Right. There was a lot of vocabulary in this lesson, but this is all going to be in the show notes. So don't worry if you don't remember it all now. Just go to the main site at learnjapanesepod.com. You can find this lesson and you can download the PDF show notes for free. And you can also get this on the app as well. So feel free to listen to this podcast again and you can read through the show notes while you're doing that. So Ami Sensei, you mentioned, well, we mentioned before that we'd talk a little bit about cultural differences in Japanese when describing people's appearance. So I thought we'd talk about some of the things that surprised me when I first came to Japan. And these are some actual phrases that I heard in conversations that almost made me and my friends cry. It was so the first one was, 鼻高いよね。鼻高いね. Which is like, oh, you've got a big nose. And I'm like, oh.
You've got a big nose.
Oh. And I was so shocked and surprised and like, no. And it's interesting, if you say big nose, you don't say 鼻がでかい. You don't say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you say 高い. It actually means high. You have a high nose. So it just means someone with a long nose. So if you go to Japan and someone says in Japanese or in English, you have a big nose, how should you take that, Ami Sensei?
You mean 鼻高いね?
Yeah, if someone says 鼻高いね, if they say
it's a compliment.
It's actually a compliment, yeah.
Yeah. I guess because, we have like small, round, short noses. So, it's like we see somebody with a nice looking nose and a high, what do you call it? Nose bridge or whatever.
A prominent proboscis.
Exactly. Then we're like, oh, 鼻高いね. Yes. So don't be offended.
I guess in most cultures, what's rare is sometimes considered beautiful. So even maybe in Western cultures, having a big nose isn't necessarily the first thing you would think of when thinking of classic ideals of beauty.
Funny.
But in Japan, if someone says...
In Japan it is.
Yeah, they're actually complimenting you. Now, a lot of my female friends hear this when they come to Japan, and it's 顔ちっちゃい. 顔ちっちゃい. You have a small face. And sometimes Japanese people will say that they'll just directly say that in English.
Yes.
And again, a lot of my female friends are like, what? What? My face is small? What does that mean?
Again, I know. Again, don't be offended. It's a compliment.
Right. It's meaning something like you have a very delicate face. You have very refined features, maybe?
Actually, it's really just talking about the size.
Oh, really?
Talking about the size of the face because, I don't know, I guess a small face is, to a lot of people more attractive. I don't know. I don't necessarily agree, but
yeah, right.
Yeah, cute looking, I guess. But whatever. But nevertheless, don't be offended.
Don't be offended, right? Now, the last one here, you definitely don't hear this anymore, but I did hear that in, I don't know, maybe up until the 60s or 70s. It was actually a compliment to call someone fat. So it's like, 太ってるね was actually a long time ago used to mean, well, the reason people said it was because if you're fat, it means you're successful.
You're healthy?
Yeah, you're healthy,
you're
but you're also so successful you can afford to eat enough food to be fat.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So apparently, I was thinking like back in the 60s, it was actually quite common, like when you had, say, like an American business person went over to Japan to do business, and they said, "Smith-san, 本当に太ってるよね. Mr. Smith, you're looking exceptionally fat today." and they'd be like, "What? How dare you?"
I was going to say, Alex, like, you were in Japan in the 60s.
Oh, yeah, yes, absolutely. In my imagination.
Yes. You made it sound like you were there in the 60s.
In the 60s.
Like, like back in the 60s over here.
Right. I sometimes get my decades messed up. Although we can get a bit of a glimpse into the 60s in Japan. What was that James Bond movie, You Only Live Twice? I think that was filmed during the 60s, wasn't it?
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
Definitely some very different social norms that might shock people today. But so back in the day, they used to say "太ってるよね."
That's funny.
That's what I remember when I was in Japan in the 60s.
I've also heard though, like if you're a lady and you're 太ってる is more attractive because again you're healthy, like you're eating well, and it's more attractive than like aガリガリな人.
ガリガリな人. Right. And again, if you go back in history, right, if you look at, I don't know, like 18th, 17th century portraits, they tend to be on the more chubby side because back then there was less food, people were thinner.
Yeah, with their big dresses.
Right. But actually physically fatter, like a lot of kind of like 18th century paintings of women and men, they actually looked a bit fat, and it was attractive because like, whoa, wow. She's so fat. Wow.
She's so pretty.
She's so pretty. She can afford to eat food. And, so these standards of beauty change, right? So anyway, there you go. Those are a couple of things that might surprise you. Let's move on to a listener question.
Sure.
And by the way, if you want to ask us a question, send us an email to info@learnjapanesepod.com. info@learnjapanesepod.com. We can't promise to answer all your questions, but we do read them and they're all great. And sometimes, even if we don't answer your question directly, we do have some of those themes in the podcast. So anyway, Ami Sensei, would you like to read the question?
Sure. So this question is from Kylie. And Kylie says, Konnichiwa, what's up? That's so funny. Konnichiwa, what's up, Alex and Ami? My husband is in the U.S. Navy military, and we are about to be stationed in Yokosuka, Japan for 3 years. How can we answer Japanese people if they ask us the reason why we went to Japan? Or any words or phrases we can learn regarding our situation? Thank you so much in advance. P.S. Looking forward on the travel course you guys worked hard on. お疲れ様です. Well, thank you so much, Kylie.
Thank you, Kylie. And a big shout out to all the personnel on the Navy base at Yokosuka. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
So I guess we could start off with some like really, really simple phrases. You could say like, why did you come to Japan? And you could say, well, I don't know, like, 旦那さんは海軍に入ってますとか。Yeah.
海軍に入ってて。
Yeah, 旦那さんが海軍に入っています。So,
入っています。
入っています。So my husband is in the Navy. So 旦那さん is husband. が refers to the subject. 海軍 is Navy. 入っています is in. So what's another easy phrase you could say?
横須賀に住んでいます。
Yeah, 横須賀に住んでいます。So に means in, 住んでいます means to live in. So we live in Yokosuka. You can even say like, they might say something like, what do you do or what does your husband do? And you can just simply say 海軍です.
Sure.
海軍です.
Yeah.
Des means is, am, or are. And so it's literally is the Navy, but it
is, am, or are.
Yeah, right. But in the context, it would mean like I'm in the Navy or my husband's in the Navy, yeah.
Sure.
Or 海軍で働いています. So he's working in the Navy is possibly another one.
Possibly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So,
and then maybe just a word to know might be handy. To know is maybe kichi, 米軍基地.
米軍基地. Yeah, so 米軍 is the
U.S. military.
right Base.
Base.
Yeah, right. Many, many years ago, my friend invited me to the base in Fusa, which is, I think it's Air Force. And it was huge. They even had a McDonald's in there in a shopping mall, and
yeah, I've heard a lot of cool things.
It's amazing. Yeah. So I would say to anyone who is serving in the Navy or the Army, perhaps, or I guess most of the personnel over here in Japan are Navy, right? So if you're here, study a little Japanese every day. You'll actually be surprised how much you can communicate with just a few simple phrases.
Sure.
So literally, if you only remember one thing, you could just say "kaigun desu," like I'm in the Navy, or he's in the Navy, or we're in the Navy. Yeah.
Well, best wishes, Kylie, and your husband.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kylie. And the you mentioned the travel course. It's out. If you're interested in checking it out, go to dojo.learnjapanesepod.com. Send another email. Tell me how you're getting on in Japan. If you've got any other questions, we'd love to help out. So I wish you all the best for you and your husband. And I hope your Japanese studies are coming along well. 頑張ってください。
頑張ってね。
Okay, everyone. So now we're going to go off script into Japanese so you can practice your listening. I can practice my Japanese. And we can hear Ami Sensei's non-scripted, beautiful Nihongo. So, Ami Sensei, I was thinking about talking about the lockdown and what we do to stay sane during the COVID lockdown. So how would you say in Japanese, how do you not go mad during COVID lockdown? I think that's quite a good...
So I'm going to phrase it a little differently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Instead of saying, how do you not go mad? I'm going to say, how do you take care of yourself, maybe?
There you go.
Yeah. During this COVID lockdown. So since we don't really have a word for lockdown, I'm going to use this term koronaka to mean in the midst of or amid the corona outbreak. コロナ禍での心のケアはどうすればいい？コロナ禍での心のケアはどうすればいい？
なるほどね。そう、コロナ禍での心のケアはどうすればいい？さあ、アミ先生、コロナ禍での心のケアはどうすればいい？
いろいろアドバイスっていうできるねほどの人じゃないんだけど、
アミ先生の場合は何やってるの？
私の場合は友達とか家族と話す時間を作る。だから、とにかくもう話す。誰かと話す。
そうね。やっぱり、なんていう嘘を晴らすね。その悪い気持ちをなくすために友達とか家族と話すことね。そういいね、
すごく大事。
そう、
やっぱりすっきりする。
すっきりするよね。
そうあとは毎日じゃなくてもいいけど、そのできる限りでできる限り運動する。だから散歩だったり。そのできる限りっていうのはその中でも外でもどっちでもいいし、安全に距離が保てる、環境で自分ができる限りでいいから、運動する。
やっぱり体を動かすことが大事だよね。僕はフィットビット持ってるよ。だからできる1日おきに1万歩
すごい
なんて歩いてるよ。
わお。
そう。
すごい。
でもまだまだちょっとなんていうまだ痩せてないね。
頑張る。ゆっくりね。 ゆっくりゆっくり。
あと、運動といえば、どんな運動が何ができるかな。
お家だったら例えばヨガとかいいと思う。あとストレッチ。
アミ先生はヨガやってる？
あのヨガっていうよりストレッチをすごく
やってる。気持ちいいよね。
まあ同じような感じだけど、なんかそのポーズっていうよりかはなんか本当に、筋肉を一つずつストレッチして、それであとよく寝る前にストレッチもそうだけどメディテーション、瞑想。
瞑想ですね。そう、だから体だけじゃなくて精神もケアしないとダメだよね。
だから心のケアは本当に心のケアもそうだし、体のケアもそうだし。
やっぱりアミ先生は毎朝3時起きて滝の中に瞑想するよね。そのイメージがする。
私はお坊さんですか？
そう。丸坊主で滝の中に。
一休さん。
そう、一休さん、そう。
普通に寝転がってやってます。
いいね。そう。
で本当になんかYouTube に結構いろいろあるから、そういうなんかメディテーションのなんか MP3 とか、
それ
を聞きながら目つぶってでそのまま寝ることが多い。
瞑想する人は時々忙しすぎるでしょ。だからちょっとなかなか時間がない。だからすごい面白いことは、あなたは5分でも瞑想できる余裕がなければ、20分瞑想してください。
どういうことですか？
だから5分もないと思う人は、逆にわざと20分をかけて瞑想した方がいいというのが、あなたはやっぱりパタパタしすぎ、
それだけ忙しいってこと？
そう、忙しすぎだから逆にもっと長くやった方がいいよという意味ね。それが超面白いね。
私もそう思います。
英語で言うと If you don't have 5 minutes to meditate, you should meditate for 20 minutes だからそういうことね。要するにあなたはちょっとバタバタしすぎだよ。だからもっと時間をかけて、ゆっくりして深呼吸して瞑想してくださいという意味。
深呼吸大事。それいうの忘れてた。
そう深呼吸ね。そう。
それ一番大事かもしれないね。
だと思うね。そう。だから
あとは
無理しなくていい。なんか毎日5分だけで深呼吸するだけで、瞑想と同じだと思うからね。そう。あとね、何できるかな、そのコロナ禍の心のケア、何かできるかな。
なんかやっぱり何かに没頭したり、何か楽しむことが大事だから、例えば新しい趣味を見つけて始めるとか。
そうね。
やっぱそれに集中できるし。
そうね。なんか時間がもっと早く、なんていう時間が
過ぎる、
もう過ぎるとか早く流すよね。そう時間がもっと早くなんていう
流れる
ね。そう。あとね、新しい趣味だけじゃなくて、なんか環境を変える。
いいね。
だよね。だから例えば、今まで
部屋の中？
そう、部屋の中でもいいし、でも例えばまだ行ってないところで散歩したりとか、まだ行ってない店に初めて行ってみるとか、それがいいと思うね。
公園とか自然に触れるとか、
なんか新しいところに行った方がいいと思う。
いいね。
あとね、ペット飼おう。
いいね。
ペット飼うよね。ペットある？
ペットはね、やっぱ癒されるんじゃないかな。
そう。すごい癒されるよ。
今
僕はアパート小さいだから飼えない。ダメ。ペット飼ってる？
飼ってない。飼ってない。欲しい。でもずっと欲しくて。
どっちか、犬派、猫派？
やっぱり犬かな。
なるほどね。
アレックスは？
僕は猫派。でも、アレルギーないの？
アレルギーは、だから、大丈夫。猫は大丈夫。
大丈夫。
で、犬も大丈夫。
なるほどね。
そう。で、なんかアメリカでは、やっぱりそのコロナ、がね、流行ってから、シェルターとかの、犬とかが減ったみたいで。
なるほどね。
そう、みんな保護率がアップして、結構みんなペットを、飼うようになったみたいです。
なるほどね。そう、やっぱり、一人ぼっちの人もペット飼って。
もういるし、やっぱりいいと思います。
面白いね。ということで、そういうふうにコロナの中、心のケアはできるよ。皆さん、ぜひやってみてください。
みんなで乗り越えよう。
そう、乗り越えよう。やっぱり体だけじゃなくて精神も大事だから、皆さん、本当に気をつけてください。
気をつけて。
And now, it's the part of the podcast you've been waiting for, and that is the random phrase of the week. Yay!
That's all I wanted to hear in the podcast. I don't care about anything else, Alex and Ami.
It's just the stupid, crazy Japanese. That's what you came for. So, Ami Sensei, hit us with the latest random phrase of the week.
Here we go. Random phrase of the week. Gachi.
Nani? Gachi. So what does that mean?
Gachi. So this is like a super, super slang.
Right.
And it means like seriously, or like effing. so you don't want to use it like in front of your boss.
Right.
Or in a formal setting, but it means like seriously or like effing.
Yeah, so it's kind of like mega super, kind of like in Japanese cho or mecha, but a bit,
totemo.
but a little, not rude per se, but it's not the most politest way to say it, right?
No.
Right, okay.
And you want to always follow it with like de.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like majide, you know. But
Majide,
like
right.
Yeah, it's like super maji.
Super maji. So how would you use it?
So you can use it like gachi de kawaii.
She's well cute, innit?
Yeah, she's freaking cute.
Or as we used to say back in the day in London, she's well fit, innit? That's exactly what it would be.
知らないよ、アレックス。
多分知らない方がいいと思うよ。Yeah,
知らない方がいい。
ガチで可愛い。So ガチで yeah, she's really, really fit. She's really, really cute. Okay, yeah. What else could you say?
ガチで面白い。
ガチで面白い. Oh, that's so interesting.
So interesting, so funny.
Right.
Either meaning.
Funny or interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, so those are adjectives, but you can also use it with something that you have to do, like an action. Like ガチでお金貯めないと。
Right. I gotta save some money.
I gotta save up. Like I gotta seriously save up.
Yeah. Everything counts in large amounts.
Yeah. And ガチで頑張らないと。I really have to work hard, or I really have to do better.
Yeah, right. ガチで頑張らないと. Yeah, I've got to really do better at what I'm doing.
Yeah.
There you go. ガチで。皆さんぜひ使ってみてください。
はい。
ガチで使わないとね。
ガチで使ってみて。
ガチで使ってみて。And that's it for this week. If you enjoyed this podcast, please tell your friends. We'd really appreciate it if you can spread the word on Face, Snap, Insta, Twitbook, or whatever social media you're using. And we'd love to help more people with their Japanese. So yeah, definitely tweet about us, put a post on Facebook. Please tell your friends. And for more podcasts and information about us, you can go to learnjapanesepod.com. That's learnjapanesepod.com. You can hang out with Ami and myself on our Discord channel. We've got over 1,000 members and it's still growing. So just click the link at the top of learnjapanesepod.com. So there's a link on the main website there.
Come hang out with us.
Come say hello. A huge shout out to all the Discord members. You're wonderful. You're amazing. It's a really, really nice community. Everyone's like super friendly and helpful.
Yeah.
And people are posting a lot of interesting information about studying Japanese, visiting Japan,
Practicing Japanese.
Japanese food. There's even a channel for people who are posting their art, which is like really cool. So come along and join the fun. Also check out our travel Japanese course at dojo.learnjapanesepod.com. That's dojo.learnjapanesepod.com. That course teaches you all the Japanese you need to know for a holiday in Japan. And it's been a really popular course. So come along and meet the other members. And remember, people, it takes time to learn a language. So go at your own pace. Practice a little every day. Try to make it fun. And you might be surprised at how much you improve. So see you next time. 日本語頑張ってください。またね。
またね。